It's all about us and the data. Okay.
Let's have a conversation. Hey, yo, let's chop it up, man. Hey, yo, let's have a conversation. Hey, yo, may I interject? It's about time for communal reconnect. Power of the we in some type of context. Working on the us so we can hit up what's next. It's that grown brother, grown sister type of flex. More like soul check, not just collecting checks. Fact, not feelings is what we got on deck. Take the high road, so this here is high tech. Getting to the real, very thing that we hitting on. Pull up or sit down, tell me what you sipping on. Reclaiming kinghood, that is what we getting on. Real headlines is what we spitting on. So, hey now, yo, let's have a conversation. Maybe take a sec to talk on what we facing. Only way to change is to change the situation. How about we break bread now and have a conversation? Hey now, yo, let's have a conversation. Maybe take a sec to talk on what we facing. Only way to change is to change the situation. How about we break bread now and have a conversation? Let's have a conversation. Hey, yo, let's have a conversation. Have a conversation. Have a conversation.
All right, everyone. All right. We are the Real Bravado Network, and this is Have the Conversation. All right, so strap in. Let's get to work. And before I get started, do me a huge favor. Those of you who will be joining us live or are joining us live, if go to the Real Bravado Network on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. That's the biggest way that you can support the streaming platform, okay? Also, if you're viewing live right now in a little bit, I'll put a link in the description if you want to come up and join the conversation today. We'll be more than welcome to have you, all right? So let's get down to business. Let me introduce myself. My name is Tavares J. Moore, and we talk about Black people issues from an image perspective here on Have the Conversation. All right, so today, what we're going to be doing today, y'all, is we are going to be taking a look at and talking to the people who come and participate on the stream and where they're from, what they do, how we got connected. And then we're also going to take a little bit of time and just talk about, because I throw out a lot of data, facts, and statistics on this show. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about one of the primary source materials that I use for that data, which is blackdemographics.com, and also ask the question to those who are participating and people watching is, do you believe the data? And then we're going to actually look into the data a little bit, and so you guys can understand what we're doing or where we get our information from and why the perspective is what it is over here, okay? All right, Miss Lucas, how you doing? Hold on, I got to unmute you. All right, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Why don't you tell those who watch us a little bit about you? Like, first of all, what state you are in?
I'm in Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio.
Cincinnati, Ohio. You've been there your whole life?
My whole life, 51 years.
In Cincinnati. You know, I never think about Cincinnati or Ohio until it's like election time, because everybody's always focusing on Ohio because it's a state that always flips back and forth and stuff like that. So, but I do have a question for you. So you're very active in the church, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Okay. I have an outreach ministry called Come Home, Stop Talking About It. And my goal is to get those who don't, there's churches out here, they only want to be bothered with people who have money. Well, I talk to those who don't have anything to encourage them that's my goal. I'm an outreach ministry, so I go to the neighborhoods where people are crying out, where they don't have transportation, they don't have food, they don't have that, and so I provide, food and clothing for them, and I try to encourage them to come to the Lord. And a lot of people, they're not going to go to a church building, so then I have church with them. I have church in their home. I have Bible study in their home, and if they want to watch me every Sunday, they can. I encourage them. My job is not to beat them over their head, because there are some people that say, well, you can't have a relationship with the Lord if you don't go to a church building. But you can. You can have a relationship. So that's
if
my job.
if you if you call yourself a Christian, everybody should know that the church is not a building. The church is the people. At least that's what I've been taught. I don't know. That's what I've been taught.
That's right. But you still have those out here who are still beating people upside their head, telling them they need to come into the building. And I encourage them, look, I'm here to help you step by step. So, I don't beat people over their head to tell them you got to come into the building. But a lot of people do. So my job is to encourage and get them to have a relationship with the Lord, so they can pray and read and study the Word of God and have that close relationship, because that's what God wants. He wants a relationship with us. And a lot of people think if you don't go to church, but there's people who go to church, they still ain't right. So a church building don't make you right. You just sitting there, making the pews hot and getting on everybody's nerve, because you ain't gonna live right. So there's people who never been to church, they living better than those who are going to church. So but that's my job. My ministry is an outreach ministry to help those who are in need.
So you've been with us, I think, since the beginning, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So with you being as involved in the church and a believer, what do you think about a lot of the topics that we talked about from that perspective?
It needs to be talked about. See, and that's one thing about my ministry. I talk about everything. I talk about prostitutes. I talk about suicide. I talk about everything, because when I was growing up, it was always, shh, don't talk about this, don't talk about that. And people fail to realize when people leave the walls, they got to live. And a lot of times we don't teach people how to live. We don't train them. We just say, just pray about it and you'll be okay. No, when I go home, I need to know how to deal with that man who's going to beat me up. I need to know how to deal with that boss. Show me how to live. Show me how to apply the word to my life. So that's what I try to do, to show you how to apply the word to your daily life.
Speaking of applying the word to your life, are you married?
Yes.
How long you been married?
I've been married for 10 years.
How did you meet him?
Oh, I met him when we was 18 years old.
Wait a minute. I'm confused. You've been married for 10 years, but you met him when you was 18. Husband. So what happened? That's your 10th husband?
This is my second husband. Oh. This is my second one.
Oh, okay.
See, I supposed to have married him when I was 18.
So why didn't you?
Because he wanted to wait, and I had already told him my mother was sick. I said, if my mother died before we get married, I'm walking away, and that's what I did. I should not have walked away, but I did.
Okay, you were 18, so your mind wasn't fully developed, the maturity wasn't fully developed, and you were dealing with a lot of things with the mama. So I'm gonna give you a pass on that one. I hope you tell ladies that got a decent fella, look, you got to accept some of them flaws. If the man is overall good, don't be trying to throw him away like he's disposable.
We throw
our men away. I was looking at some research. You know me, I'm all about that research. I was looking at some research, and it stated that our women leave relationships and or a marriage 70 to 80% of the time. It's the woman who walked. That's and some of they did some anecdotal interviews, and the most common reason they walked was out of boredom, or there was some quirk about the man that he just didn't like. And it was kind of funny because I was at work last night, and when I got there, I relieved. I'm a respiratory therapist, so when I got there for my night shift, we relieved the day shift, and one of the ladies in there, she's been married about 21, 22 years, and as she was packing up to leave, she makes the comment that she goes, "I'm sick of sharing my life with somebody."
Wow.
I was like, I mean, my whole ears just kind of perked up, and I was like, "What?" You know what I mean? And then she was like, "No, my husband's great, but I just so hate having to go home and do this and do." She started naming all this stuff, and she goes, "I just want to be free." And I'm thinking to myself, "What's annoying?" And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, "Lady, you have no idea if you leave your husband what's out here and how hard it is. They have no clue." And then the thing that really got me is when she made the statement. She was talking to another lady, and she made the statement. She goes, "He's not done anything wrong. He's great. I just don't want to be. I'm just tired of sharing my life with people." And I was just like, "Ooh." And she like 42, 43. I'm thinking to myself, "Ooh, I hope you don't make a decision that you're going to regret, that you think at 40 something years old that there's something out here that's so magical, So, ooh, I don't know. Yeah, yours is back. But let's see. There was another question I wanted to. So what made you decide to marry him 10 years later? I mean, how did he come back around? All right, go ahead.
After I divorced my first husband, I was married to him for 18 years. After I divorced him, I prayed. I said, "Lord, please, I hope you give me a second chance." And I went on Facebook and I
So,
found him. I said,
so
"Oh,
you already had this man on your mind.
yes." I said, "Lord, please." So he's a gentle giant. He's 6'7". He's a gentle giant.
You
And
women
I
with
said, "Lord, please."
these gigantic NBA player men. What's wrong with y'all? Us
Oh.
average height men ain't got no shot, do we? Us 5'11" men ain't got no shot. And only 14% of the male population is over 6 feet tall. A lot of women don't know that. Most women want men 6 feet or taller, but that's only 14% of the entire male population. And of that 14%, the majority of them play in the NBA. So y'all here fighting for men that you, unless y'all willing to share, but then y'all talk about y'all don't want to share, but then y'all got, never mind. That's a whole other story. But all right, Miss Tamala, let me get to some of the other ladies. and Miss Angela, the queen of collaboration. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Where you from? What state?
I am originally from Anderson, South Carolina. I currently live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, by way of Atlanta, Georgia.
By way of Atlanta, Georgia. So you were born in Atlanta.
I was actually born in Anderson, South Carolina. I lived in Atlanta for approximately 18 to 20 years.
Dang.
And I moved here to where I am in Atlanta right now. But I moved to Myrtle Beach 2 years ago. So I currently live in Myrtle Beach.
South Carolina?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So your name on the screen every week that we do this show is called the Queen of Collaboration. How in the world did you get the name Queen of Collaboration?
I have no idea. Um,
Yes, you do. How you got that name?
Someone gave me that name. I don't remember who gave me that name, but someone gave me that name because they saw um, that I was doing a lot of collaborating and bringing people and working. Someone spoke that over my life, and it's just something that I've had to live up to. It's something now that I pride myself in. I love to network, love to partner, love to collaborate, love to bring people together because we all have a purpose, and it takes all of us to make this world go round. So I just love bringing people together.
What kind of collaboration do you do?
So I have two facets that I use. I have AALAC, which is the African American Author Literacy Awareness Campaign that I created in 2016 to bring awareness to Brown authors and to touch on literacy within the Brown community. In 2020, during the pandemic, God allowed me to create a magazine and launch a magazine that would further that mission, would allow me to showcase and bring authors together. And not only that, it gave me an opportunity to touch on topics that affect our brown community that people don't want to talk about, things that people brush under the rug: domestic violence, sexual assault, things that have been affecting our community that people don't want to talk about. So those are some of the things that I do. And I just provide a platform and an outlet for people that think that they don't have a voice. I do this thing called the E3 experience, which is educate, empower, and encourage. That's what I want to do when I encounter people. I want to be able to educate them, empower them, and encourage them in whatever facet, whatever their next move may be. And I do that through the L3 movement, which is learn, love, and lead, because I believe that we always have to be a student, willing to learn, moving in love, showing love, because love draws, love covers a multitude of sin, and that helps us to be a great leader. So that's who I am.
Hmm. Okay. Are you married?
I am not married. Well, let me stop for a second. I am married. I am separated. How about that?
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be going through a divorce. Um, for those that don't know, I am a domestic violence survivor. My husband was my abuser. Um, I escaped the relationship, but not the marriage. I was able to get away. Wasn't thinking about getting a divorce at the time, but it is coming. Um, I did everything I could to try to save the marriage, but it didn't work. So some of these topics that we've been talking about and some of these conversations that we've been having have really been hitting home for me, and they've been some needed conversations. So I've enjoyed this.
Okay. Would you ever get married again?
Yes, I will. I plan on getting married. Things happen. I don't count men out. Um, I believe in love. I believe in relationships. I believe in those things. So yeah, I plan on getting married again.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'll get right back with you. Okay, Miss Queen of Collaboration. Dr. Thomas.
Good evening, TJ.
How you doing? Where you from?
I am from the great city of Tallahassee, Florida.
You in the middle of Florida. You in Florida, Tallahassee. That's the capital,
Tallahassee,
right?
the capital. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
Sir.
Man, y'all got some mess down there with that DeSantos character, boy.
Yes, we do.
That Joker. He got up on stage. I don't need Donald Trump. Yeah. Yes. Are you been in Florida your whole life?
I have. Yes.
Okay. Where's so it's Dr. Kimberly Thomas. Where does the
Yes.
doctor come from?
Well, I have a THD in theology and a PhD in Christian education.
Uh-oh. And, so what do you mean by Christian education?
Christian education is biblical studies.
Okay. Are you like a minister, or are you just an evangelist? What do you do in your church?
I am an ordained, affirmed apostle of the gospel.
I have no idea what that means.
I am a preacher.
Okay.
I'm a preacher. Let's make it simple. I'm a preacher. Yes, I preach the word of God. Yes, sir.
You're a preacher. Okay. I
Yes,
do
sir.
have okay. Oh, I'm gonna ask a question, and I know it's gonna get me in trouble. My grandma was watching, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. So the Bible talks about the natural order of things, right?
Yes.
You said that like you know where I'm gonna go with this.
Let's see.
Okay, so it talks about the natural order of things. God, man, woman, child. In that order.
Yes.
And everybody report up. So I'm assuming you're married.
Yes, sir, I am.
So how does that work with you being a preacher in conjunction with what is said to be the natural order of things?
My house and my life is run by the natural order. God being the head, Jesus, my husband, and then I fall right in line. I know my place when it comes to my place in the house,
Mm-hmm.
and I know the order of God when it comes to ministry as well. So, yes, we do follow the order. My husband is the head of our household. Yes, sir.
Is he a minister too, or in the ministry too?
Yes, he is.
Oh,
Yes.
he is. Okay, okay. Normally, that's when you see that. That's you normally see it's a, especially nowadays, a husband and wife team. With my men,
It wasn't always that way. Actually, I was called into the ministry prior to my husband being called into the ministry, but our house has always been run according to biblical principle.
hmm okay, yeah, we have these with my pastor and a group of us, include some ladies. Boy, this is always a heated topic, boy. I mean, it is a heated topic about ladies in the pulpit, and and I think it's more common now than it was when I was growing up. You know what I mean? You didn't see it, or if you saw a lady, she was quote unquote an evangelist, and when she gave word, she wasn't even allowed to give it from the pulpit. We had a lady in my church named oh Lord, me and my grandma were just talking about her today. Anyway, she was an evangelist, and I think it was like every fifth Sunday, which only comes around what, twice a year,
A court
you,
every
you,
quarter. Yeah.
or something like that, and it just ugh. And then or any specialized women's program, that's when she was allowed to,
Hmm.
and but never from the pulpit, and it was just always, and she was good. Weatherspoon, that's I wanted to give her, she's, let her know that I remember. Weatherspoon was her name, and she was good. The lady was good. When I was in church though, I just always hated when she wanted to pray because I knew that was another 2 hours extension of the church. I was like, oh Lord, here she go. But I was a young teenager and all that good stuff, so I didn't know no better. I mean, I did, but there's another deacon that I hated to hear pray to because it was like, Lord, he's never gonna stop. Sometimes, like the musician would just start playing the choir in the middle of his prayers because he would be gone for so long. So yeah, so I understand. Um, Outside of the ministry, what do you do? Do you work?
Yes.
So what kind of work
Yes.
do you do?
I am a 26-year veteran with the Florida Department of Corrections. My current job title is I am the overseer of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. I am the liaison for the department, and I am the State of Florida Administration for Interstate Agreement on Detainers. So I oversee all of our inmates as well as federal and out-of-state inmates who have detainers and outstanding charges in other states.
Did you say that's Fed or statewide?
Actually, as the administrator, I handle issues for both in-state, federal, and out-of-state.
Are you a state or a federal employee?
I am a state employee.
Okay, so we're gonna stop right there because you've got a dude over your
Yes,
state
sir.
that's a little
Yes, sir.
special. Oh, I'm in Missouri. Same situation, so I get it. Okay, so from your background, you've been around since the beginning, and all of the topics that we talk about. What do you think about the topics that we talk, especially the fact that we've been dealing with Black people issues right now? We've been just dealing it from the female perspective and what she contributes to that. So as a lady and as a preacher, as you say, um, how do you feel about the topics that we cover from that perspective?
These topics are very much needed. They have really been hitting home. They are topics that need to be talked about. As Dr. Lucas has said, these are topics that should be addressed on every hand. We address them as well in our outreach ministry. These are things that we talk about. We talk about it with the individuals that we minister to in the housing projects, and when we're out in the streets and doing community outreach, because it is a much needed topic. We deal with many young ladies coming out of the housing project, and many of the topics that we have talked about regarding just the image of the females and how they see themselves and the fact of the caliber of men that they choose. We have experienced many things in our outreach where we have young ladies who are young and all they see is their mothers and having children at young ages and being able to get public assistance, getting their own houses, having, subsidy checks and things of that nature coming in. So that's their main focus. When I get a certain age, I'm going to have me a baby so I can have my own apartment. And that has been their focus. But, these have been some great topics and they should be addressed more often. We should address them every opportunity that we have.
Yeah. Miss Lucas, can you please unmute?
Hello.
Did Dr. Thomas just call you Dr. Lucas?
Yes, I'll go by doctor.
How come we didn't know that?
Because I'm humble. and I got some haters.
You got some haters. How you got some haters? You out here in the word, ministering to folk, having outreach, and you gonna talk about you got some haters.
I got some haters. They is very disrespectful.
Angela, you are down there cracking up.
Yes,
they are. They disrespectful. They would call me Tamala, Tammy. They would not call me. They are very disrespectful.
Oh wow.
But that's okay. When you know who you are, you're able to move forward in that. And TJ, he made a comment about female ministers of the gospel and how it still exists where women are not allowed in the pulpit and have to preach from the floor and things of that nature. But when you know who you are and who God has called you to be, it does not really matter what people call you, because you can call me brother, you can call me cousin, you can call me whatever. It doesn't matter. It does not matter because I know who I am. And so, we don't worry about what people are, how people address us. When you know who you are, you walk in that holy boldness and that confidence, knowing who you are and the fact that God has called you to be who you are, and you move accordingly.
Yep. All right, ladies, I'm gonna go ahead and move on, and then I'll get right back with you. Hey, Miss Diamond. Oh, where my thing at?
Hi, how are you?
Good. What state you in?
I'm currently in the DMV area, but I'm originally from New York.
The who area?
DMV, that's the Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia area.
Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. You got to explain that to me. Why is it called the DMV?
Well, that's something I learned when I came down here, that it's called that because it borders on each and other, and they're just so close together. Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. So you go through Delaware, Maryland, Virginia. That's what I get from it. But
okay. And how long you been there?
I've been here 21 years.
And you're originally from New York.
I'm gonna always claim home, New York.
You New Yorkers. Let me tell you something.
Don't start.
You New York. No. You New Yorkers and the people from Chicago and people from St. Louis. Y'all make me sick about how y'all talk about each one of y'all. Each groups of people talk about their city as if it was the birthplace of civilization.
Well, I don't say it was the birthplace. I just look at my experiences in New York and what I experienced there and what I experienced here and what I had there and what I lost here. So that's it personally for me. I can't speak to anybody else that has come from New York, but I know that will always be home for me. Not to say that Maryland is a bad place or Delaware or Virginia. It's just that I know what I had. And I was always taught that you know what you have, but you don't know what you're going to get. So I know what I had. But I know what I lost here, and I lost a lot being in this state. So
what do you mean by loss?
I lost so many relatives while I was living here, and one of the people that I've lost was more than a relative. It was my husband. That I lost him in a way that I still haven't gotten over it, and it would have been 24 years this past Monday with us being married, but he's been gone now for 16 years. Um, there were some things, some ups and downs in our relationship, and I know those are some of the things that we spoke about while we were doing your show, and I appreciated everything that we've spoken about. A lot of it has touched close to me about relationships with men, but we had our ups and downs in our relationship, and nearing the end, it just got to be a little bit too much for me. And I did ask him, and my children are aware of it, so there's nothing that I say at this point that I wouldn't say to them and that they don't know that I did ask him to leave the home because it became too much. And when I say it became too much, because his drinking was getting to be out of hand for me, and I was raising our children. I was going to school and working 2 jobs, and I just couldn't do it anymore. So I had asked him to leave the home. He was gone for a little while, and he maintained contact with the kids, and he called me every once in a while to let me know he was okay, and he was staying with a relative. And this one day, this relative called me and told me that he hadn't picked up his mail, and it was starting to build up. I said, well, he'll come and pick it up. So I said that I would call around and see, in different places of where I possibly think that he could be. And I called several hospitals, and everybody said he wasn't there. And he was a frequent inpatient individual. And I called every place I can think of, and he wasn't there. And I just got kind of tired, and I said, you know what, I'm going to make one more phone call. So I went into my bathroom and I made a phone call, and that was the phone call that I really wish I wouldn't have made, but something told me to do it. And I called the morgue, and they had told me he was there. And that right there just tore me apart. And I said, no, that's not him. That's somebody else. They said, miss, this is him. So we went around looking for him, some relatives in my own. We went down there, and they told us that we had to come back Monday. And they told us another place to go. So we went to a hospital, and they said, no, we had to go back to the morgue. That Monday came, we got to the morgue, and they had told us that that wasn't him. They first told me that I couldn't go down to see the body, and they told me that it wasn't him. I said, well, check and see if he has a certain mark on him. And they came back up, and they said no. So as we were leaving, they told me that, miss, this is him. This is the mark on him. So I said, you just told me it was not the mark on him. So they got to the administrator, and they cleared the room downstairs. We got downstairs, they spoke to me, and they said, we're just going to prepare this person for you to see them. When I got to the door of where the room was, I just stood there at the door, and I looked at the top of the head, and I said, that's him. And I knew that was my husband. I walked over to him, and I looked, and I saw him laying there. He was deceased, and he looked like he was asleep. And I thank God for him being asleep, looking like he was asleep, because my children needed to see him. The thing about it is my husband was dead for 3 weeks, and nobody contacted me. When they told me that I can go pick up his things, I went to the hospital to pick up his things. They told me I could not pick up his things because of HIPAA law. I told him, I said, he's deceased right now. There is no HIPAA law concerning his dead body. But I called back to the morgue, and the morgue told them that to release his things to me. So they gave me a bag with his clothes in it. And I said, no, we're going to sit here and we're going to go through this together. I went through his things. He had a brand new pair of sneakers on, a brand new pair of pants that was in there. The belt that was around his waist was cut. I guess they had to get it off of him to do whatever they felt as they needed to do. They gave me his wallet. And in his wallet was my phone number, my son's medical card, my his identification. So I'm wondering, why didn't the hospital call me? At this point in time, he was in and out of homeless shelters. So I went to the homeless shelter, the information that was in his bag. And when I got to the homeless shelter, they gave me his records. And in his records, it said, in case of an emergency, notify, and it had my name. I said, well, isn't this an emergency? The man is deceased. He died. So I asked other questions, and they told me about the police officer that was involved. They said that the doctor that was there in the hospital would not examine him. They had to wait for the undertaker to come in to declare that he was deceased. It was just a mess. So I got all of this information together, and I started doing my homework. So I asked what was the cause of death. And when they told me, I said, I'm not believing it. At this point, I did not believe it. They told me he died of a heart attack, which is possible given his age. But at the same time, they said he was running for the bus and he had a heart attack. That's when I said something was wrong. There was many of days my husband and I went to catch the bus. My husband wouldn't run for the bus, and we got into arguments just because he wouldn't run. He would make us late. He wanted to smoke a cigarette. He always smoked a cigarette standing at the bus stop. So I knew him running for the bus wasn't true. So my husband has been going for 16 years and I just had closure. I just
Mm.
got closure. I just got to the point that I'm able to let him go in that sense because I needed it because I've been trying to find ways to allow myself to let him go after 16 years. And I just couldn't do it for such a long time. And this past year, we just decided to get him a headstone. So as we're going to get him the headstone, I said I was going back to school. So my school decided that I can do veterans if my husband was a vet. I said, well, from what I was told, they said he had a dishonorable discharge. So they said, well, that's still acceptable. Just get the papers from vets, from the veterans.
Yeah, the
I
DD
said,
214.
it was the DD 214. I contacted them and told them that I needed it and that it was a dishonorable discharge. I said I knew that because when we went to bury him, I was told when I went to there that it was a dishonorable discharge. They said, ma'am, it was not a dishonorable discharge. He had an honorable discharge. I said, this couldn't get any worse than what it is. I said, so my husband is not buried in the veteran cemetery. He's buried someplace else. But I was told he did not have an honorable discharge, so they couldn't bury him in there. So now you're telling me, so I have to go through all this all over again. So the closure is still not there. While we went through that process, we decided to move from the house that we were living in. And during that time, we witnessed a murder and we had to go into protection for a while.
Wow.
We were there for a while, and it's still me and the children by ourselves. And we were going through this process. At the same time, I was still in school and working two jobs. So they relocated us and we went into hiding for a while. And they told us that the case may have been elevated, so we may have to change our identity. And it was very hard on some of the smaller children because they didn't know what was going on and they wanted to go out and play with their friends, but I couldn't allow them to do that. So the older children, we had to work out things. So I had to get rid of my car. I had to have my son learn how to drive real quick. So they were all taught different things and they all had different responsibilities. Where my children even learned how to play dead in the event that something would happen.
My
Son
goodness, Mr.
told
Hammond.
to if something happened, just to grab the children and keep going. Don't look for me, just keep going. If I'm not at that next location, just keep going. Don't even ever look back for me, just keep going. We always had our bags and things packed in the closet on the first floor. We had cases of water, we had our IDs, which really wouldn't have helped us none, but we just grabbed them anyway. We had changes of clothes, we had blankets, we had things in the car. We were prepared at any point in time to be able to move and relocate. So this is what my children have been through. This is what we've been through. So when I say home, New York will always be my home. I lost so much here. And again, I'm not saying that Maryland is a bad place, but I've lost my nieces and my nephew. My father passed away while I was down here. My sister passed away. And they all passed within 2 years of each other. So we was going back and forth to funerals. And it's just been really crazy. So I'm still trying to pull my life together. There's things that's still going on. People look and they'll say to me, oh, you always seem like you have it together. Inside, they have no idea that sometimes I feel like I'm falling apart. But
I tell people that all the time. You never know what somebody's carrying. And also, when I listen to your story, I was talking yesterday, and I said, these stories, these testimonials, these things, it leads me to always be reminded to tell people that there's no excuse. When you have people who have experienced and witnessed and gone through, and they come and they've somehow gotten to the other side, and you got somebody with the support, with the resources, and they're making excuses for not pushing forward, there is no excuse. There is no excuse.
I can't speak on whether there's excuse because I really don't know what they're going through. Prior to us coming to New York, we left New York because there was a hit put out on us for something else that was going on. So we've been through things for the last 21 years. And here I am I've raised 12 children, 6 boys and 6 girls. 3 are my biological and the rest are my nieces and nephews, which I've adopted and came through the foster care system. And it's very hard. I've been through just about whatever I could to survive. What we talk about in different subjects of the things that we talk about how you don't want a man in the house and this, that, and the other. I can only speak from my experience and know what I've been through. I only speak on not having a man in my house because I have other children in the house, and these children are not my birth children. So I cannot have somebody else's man or a man in my home because these are not my children. And I have to be mindful for what I've been through. The trust is very hard. It is very hard. And I have to think about them first. Some of these children weren't even born at the time that some of these events happened, but I'm always at the point where I have to be defensive for myself, but not against a man or maybe a female. It's a friend or whatever it is. But I have to worry about my own security and know who I can trust and who I can't.
Do you want to get married?
I was given that gift once. I was given that gift, and God let me experience that. And I've experienced so much. I don't need a man for my children. My biological children are all grown, so I don't have to worry about that. But to be in a relationship, I want to be fair to this person. I don't want to carry my baggage into this relationship because it would not be fair, because I'm still dealing with certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to take it out on anybody. I don't want to give them 100% of just them giving me 100%, me not being able to give it back. To have a companion, yes, it would be wonderful to have that companion. Yes.
Here's my little two cents about that. We got we got a finite amount of time on this planet, and sometimes we gotta build the plane while we fly it. And so a lot of times, if you got to sit around and wait for the plane to get built before you fly it, we might pass up the opportunities. And having a man is not just exclusively for the children. It's actually primarily and first for you. The children are byproducts of a marriage, regardless if they're biological or not. So my way of thinking has evolved over the last, I would say, 5 years. That like my shift in a lot of things, because my thought process was very, very different prior to that. But the one thing that I do understand more so, maybe because I'm getting older and I'm, having many midlife crises and stuff like that. And I look around at my so-called community. We're not together. And we're the only group in this country that aren't together in record at a sustainable rate. They used to, when I was growing up in the late 80s and the 90s, and they used to talk about, one day the black family or the black man or whatever is going to be extinct. And I'm telling you right now, just because black folks still walking around this country, that doesn't mean that we're not near extinction, because there is no more black family. 27% of all blacks are married. 27%. That does not sustain a community.
Well, I'm not saying that I'm completely out of that loop, but if and when God is ready for me to have somebody in my life, then He's going to bring them to me. I'm not going to go looking for it.
I'm gonna tell you
one. Probably a wonderful thing, but I'm content with the way that my life is right now, and I have a lot on my plate.
That's good.
I still have these children right now,
and you still got those kids
going through so much, and I still have minor children that I'm raising.
I'm going to say something that I think that Dr. Thomas and Miss Lucas can probably validate, and that's this. You don't get to determine when your blessings come. Your blessings don't come when things are good for you. They come when they're needed. And oftentimes the blessings show up in the middle of the crisis, because that's when the blessing is needed, whether it be a new job or new opportunity, whether it be a mate. They don't come when we want them. They come when God says we need them. So keep that in the back of mind if a fella do knock on the door. And just because you're in the middle of a crisis, or you're transitioning out of the crisis and you go, oh, I'm not there yet. That's not what God do. God comes and gives you what you need in the time that is needed. Now who's the preacher, Miss Thompson? All right, let me get the flow. Hey, lady.
Hey, TJ.
Hey, why don't you tell everybody what your name is?
My name is Florraine Clark.
Mm-hmm.
I go by the name of Lady Flo, only because of me being a reggae artist back in the days. I just figured, they say, why you name yourself Lady Flo? I said, my name is originally Florraine. I like to flow. I am a lady. So it's Lady Flo it is. Originally, I'm from the West Indies. I live in the Wisconsin area at this moment.
What's the difference between like Jamaica and the West Indies? What's the difference?
I mean,
is Jamaica considered to be part of the West Indies?
It's part of the islands. Is an island, the Caribbean. So more so, it's just a little different. They're a little rough around the edges. We are a little bit more softer around the edges. We are more from the U.S. colonies. You know, them Jamaicans rough.
Um,
Man.
the West Indies. I thought it was a British.
Yeah, well,
territory.
you got the British like Antigua. I was born in Antigua, Bermuda, but then you got the islands that's like St. Thomas and St. Croix and Puerto Rico. They are part of the U.S. Colonies.
So you got so you are so you are a citizen of Great Britain as well.
Exactly, exactly. I was born there. I wasn't raised there.
So
I
you
was
got
raised.
dual. So you have
I was.
dual citizenship with
Yes,
the well. So with between
yes.
Great Britain and the United States. That's
They
interesting.
call me like what they call a permanent resident, so to speak. You know, here
How
in
old
New
were you
York.
when you came to the States?
Well, I left. According to my mom, I left Antigua when I was about in '79. I was born in '75, and I was a part of the U.S. by the time '79 came around. According to my green card,
Mm-hmm.
what do
You
I
came,
know?
did
You
you
know,
came with your mom or did you come with other family?
my grandmother.
Or your grandmother?
My grandmother basically raised me, you know, as a youth for the most part until my mom came from Antigua. She came to the Virgin Islands and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, she took
How did you
over.
get into reggae music? How did you become? How did you get into performing? Not the music, but how did you get into it?
My voice. For some reason, something about my voice, other artists always wanted me to do like collaboration, you know, with them just because of the way I sound, you know, to most people. You know, so it was about something in my voice that other artists liked, and they will push me. They would write certain things, and then they'll tell me to, Flo, let me hear how you sound, and then I started doing it, and just start liking it, and then next thing you know, I was always in the studio, and doing hooks and doing verses until I started writing my own
Mm.
songs, and stuff, performing and stuff like that. But you know.
Okay, cool. All right, let me go talk to Christy. Hey, Miss,
Hello,
what's going on? Where you from?
I'm from St. Louis, Missouri,
You
the
say that
Midwest.
like that's undisputed. Like, yeah, everybody
It
knows.
is.
Everybody know I'm from the. Where else would I be from? Sound
I'm
like a
from
New
Missouri.
Yorker. Well, where else would I be from? It's St. Louis. You know,
That's
nothing
right.
great happened if it didn't happen in St. Louis.
And that's absolutely correct.
Incorrect. Very incorrect. You've been here your whole life?
Hey, yes, been here my whole life. I'm not married to the city or the state, but here is where I am.
Here's where I am. Okay.
Hmm.
Married? Are you married?
No, I'm divorced. I've been divorced for 140 years.
Do you want to do it again?
I would love to do it again. I would love to do it again. My children are grown.
What would you tell now, Christy today? What would you tell Christy of 30 years ago?
Live, love, laugh, and have fun,
What the hell
which
does
is
that
what I've
mean?
done. Which
What
is
what does,
what I've done.
what does that mean? Live, laugh, and have
I
fun.
mean,
I do that all in about a 5 minute period of time.
I wouldn't change a thing. I got married very
I
young.
would.
Well,
I would
okay,
change some stuff from last week.
okay. I got married very young at the behest of my mother.
Hmm.
Um,
Was your mother young when
was
she got married?
Yes, my mother was 18 when she got married. I was 20
And she
when I
stayed
got
with
married.
and she stayed with your father until when?
Her first marriage was not my father.
Mm-hmm.
So she stayed with him. Um, she was in her 20s.
No. Your father. How long did she stay with your father?
She stayed with my father till she was, I guess, nearing 40.
Oh, okay.
And then she divorced. She and my father divorced, and she remarried until
For a third time?
yes,
Oh, she a brave
yes.
lady.
She was really brave, but
Mm-hmm.
she believed like I do. She believed in love and the sanctity of marriage. I believe in love, and I still believe in love, even though I haven't I haven't had that sweep me off my feet, head over heels type of
Oh,
love.
Lord, Lord.
Yeah, it'll
Forgive
be all
me.
right.
It'll be all right.
It'll be all right.
Who cares about this stage? I think we should forget. Who cares about love? Just who can come in and do the job, and you can, who doesn't quick completely get on your nerves. I think that's a win right now.
That is a real good thing. And at this point, at this stage, I want somebody that, we're friends. We can stand to be with each other
I want to ask
and
you a
get
question.
old together. You know,
Well, we already old
together.
friends. Angela, crack it up. Angela's in the green room, crack it up. We already old friends. What do you mean, friends? Ain't your
Yeah,
friend?
because your friend, you're gonna respect your friends.
Not necessarily.
You're gonna care about your friend's feelings. If that's your real friend, you're gonna guard your tongue where your friend is concerned.
Wow.
That's just my thought.
A lot of ladies, say that they want a guy to be friends, and most guys, you know, have this make the statement, and I do too. I'm not your friend, Miss Thomas. Why are you shaking your head?
Most guys don't want to be friends.
But why would you be? I mean, and I'm gonna be honest. I want my friend to pull my hair.
Ah!
So you want friends with benefits, Chrissy?
That's who I want to spend my life with. And I'm not saying friends with benefits, but I want that friend that I can share my life with.
And pull your hair.
And pull my hair.
Oh my God.
But you don't want to get married? You do want to get married, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I get what you're saying now. So my husband and I, we're friends. We like I'm like his road boy.
They roll dogs.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what I
really
want.
We really are because we really are. Angela have seen us in action, and we're just that way. We feed
That's
off
why you
each
have
other.
that.
We're just that type. We've been around each other so long that it's like we're boys sometimes. He can talk to me like that, and I can talk to him about stuff, and we just laugh and carry on. So I understand what you're saying now.
Yeah,
but at first, I thought you were talking about friends with benefits. When
no,
you said
ma'am, I'm not that friends with benefits. I'm not that kind of girl. But I see why you have that cute smile. Your resting face is a cute smile, and I see that, and I love it.
Thank you.
I'm done.
I want to be like them when I grow up.
That's how it's supposed to be, TJ. It's supposed to be like that. Them. You're supposed to have somebody that you love that can be your friend. I come home sometimes and I can talk to my husband about anything. And he can talk to me about anything. I mean, stuff that he would share, like guy stuff sometimes. We kick the bobo. We just
kick the bobo. Yes.
We don't.
Wait a minute, Dr. Thomas, what is the bobo?
You don't know what bobo is?
Like shoot breeze. Like just
conversate.
Kick the bobo.
Is that an Ohio thing?
No, that's
from Florida.
That's old.
Okay, that's a Florida thing. I've never heard that.
I've heard of it. It's an old term.
Yeah, this is an old term.
Language.
I love it.
Kick the bobo, yeah. Oh,
But Dr. Thomas, I really he puts a smile on your face.
He do.
And I want that.
Yes.
I want that.
Yeah, and it's funny because we have such a crazy sense of humor. We can laugh about just silliness and just carry on because that's just what it is. And when you have somebody that you can be friends with, that makes it even more great, because when you have a mate and you're friends as well as lovers and all of that, that is the best thing.
Okay.
And you just described what I was saying. I'm not so eloquent with the words as you put them. However, I know what it is that I want. And I want that homie lover friend to spend my life with. Yeah. Because I'm
nothing like having a homie lover friend.
Right. I'm not that cultivated, cultured, super pretty, nice, and I'm a truck driver. So I'm a little, I got some edges. I'm a truck driver. And so he would have to understand she's a truck driver. And she's a Christian, she's a good girl, but she cuss. And we'll fight.
How can you be a good girl and cuss and fight? Ain't got yourself a good Angela, what was you gonna say? I heard you call my name. What?
No, I was gonna say to you, do you remember you said something, don't let your blessing pass by? Yeah. She didn't let hers pass by. She almost, but she didn't let hers pass by. You have to hear her story. You have to hear her story.
Yeah, because I remember she called the man a frog.
She wouldn't talk to him.
Hey, ladies, we gotta wrap this. Have the conversation up. Stick around for the after show. We're gonna get into blackdemographics.com, and we'll do that. My goodness,
I love it.
Let's have a conversation.
Like or whatever.
All right, everybody, welcome to the after show. We'll spend a couple minutes just talking about you guys. We'll spend a couple minutes talking about blackdemographics.com. Here, let me pull it up for you guys to see it. All right, there might be a little bit of an echo sometimes because when I share my screen, there's an echo and I stay on it. But I wish you could like enhance it a little bit, but if we had different streaming software, we could. But this is the website, blackdemographics.com. And within blackdemographics.com, hold on a second. It is, where did I? Okay, here I clicked on what do we do? And it says blackdemographics.com is a single resource for information and statistics about African Americans and how we work, live, learn, vote, and worship. So they keep track of our employment, unemployment, Black-owned businesses, income, marriage rate, housing rate, poverty level, middle class, and our populations by state and city. So you can actually go to blackdemographics.com and actually look up, like, hold on, let me see, populations by, find your state. Let's see, Dr. Thomas, you said you're in Tallahassee?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's see. Where is Tallahassee? Where is it? Florida. Daytona, Pensacola. It's not on here. What? Hold on a second. Let me look. Find your city and state. Alabama. Okay. Let me just. Oh, I just click on Florida. Florida, Tampa, Tallahassee. So, like in Tallahassee, there's 119,320 Black folk in Tallahassee. Yep. And like the state, and then it talks about the state of Florida as a population: 17% Black, 56% white, 24% Hispanic. That's yeah. Yep. For the generations, Florida Blacks, millennials 18 to 34 make up 44%. Generation X, which is 30 to 35 to 49, make up 24%. Baby boomers 50 to 69 make up 25%. And the silent generation, which is 70 plus, only make up 8% of Florida. Like the Black median household income in the state of Florida is $34,563. That's the combined household income for the average Black family in Florida, $34,000. 27% of Blacks in Florida live in poverty, and 54% of Blacks are. So the vast majority of Black folk in Florida are employed at 54%. 44% of Florida residents and Black residents in Florida own homes.
That's good.
44.
Yep. 31% of Blacks in Florida are married, which is higher than our national rate. And 19% of Blacks do not have any health coverage. So blackdemographics.com is a very comprehensive breakdown of our data. So this is just Florida. Let's look at our income. And I think the income is nationally. Blacks, Black income, 16 years old or older, bring home $799 a week if you're 16 or over. 25 years and older, the average Black income is $842 a week. 25 years older, the men make $901 a week. So the average man over the age of 25 in this country brings home an average of $901. Whites, $1,147. That's the white male counterpart. Black women, 25 years or older, down here, sir, or older, makes $803. And their white female counterparts are $941 a week. And that comes from, and down at the bottom, it cites its source. I mean, I know you can't see it on the screen, but I'm gonna highlight it right here. It cites the source that it comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and this is for the first quarter of 2021. So in this country, Blacks, the median household income for Blacks is $43,862. For whites, $65,712. If you are a married Black family, if you are married, your family income is $81,500.
Over 70% of the world's
$545. The other, $96,571 if you're married. The average single woman in America makes $35,354. The average single white female head of household earns $40,815. So these are some basic. I mean, it gets even more detailed than that, but that's the basic stuff or blackdemographics.com. So we got this out here, and let me see, hold on a second. Contact us. Let me see. I don't know if you can see this real quick. Blackdemographics.com. If you go to their website, the owner, Akim Deshay, his email address is on here. You can contact him. He's a black man. The chief marketing and business strategist is on here. Tyree Brandon, his email and his phone number is on there to contact him about the demographics. And then it also lists all the different publications that uses blackdemographics.com as their source information. Forbes magazine uses it, Wikipedia, the Washington Post, CNN, BBC News, the Huffington Post, all use blackdemographics.com to find information about us.
Yes.
Universities, Princeton, University of South Carolina, Florida State, Middle Tennessee State, all use blackdemographics.com as a primary source of resource.
Wow.
Yep. So also, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services uses blackdemographics.com. Washington State Board of Education, the Indiana Commission on the Status of Black Males, the Los Angeles County Quality and Productive Commission all uses blackdemographics.com as a source for information about Black folks. This is how comprehensive and how good they are about keeping data on us. Mm-hmm. Also, some of the most major nonprofits in the country, like the Brookings Institution, the Earl Carl Institution for Legal and Social Policy, the Mississippi Urban Research Center, the American Occupational Therapy Association, the National Healthy Marriage Resource Center, all uses blackdemographics.com.
Wow.
And also some of the major sociological publications like Sociology in Our Times, which is a big, their major, source print material, uses blackdemographics.com. So a lot of times you'll hear people talk about, the data, where you get the data from. What does they say? I mean, and my response to that is, then what are you using? How do you can't go by how you feel or what you see? Because we believe it or not, when we talk about our experiences, those are our personal experience, but that doesn't give validation to the national picture or the big picture. You can, what you see is not necessarily what's out there. So I grew up in a city and in a community where Blacks did not own a lot of property. I didn't think about that. When I moved to St. Louis and I saw the volume of Black home ownership here, it was mind-boggling to me because that didn't exist where I went. Everybody rented. Everybody rented from some white man where I came from. But so that shows you're limited. So I was under the impression that Black folks didn't own nothing. If the only Black folks that owned something had a lot of money. I come to St. Louis and people earning $14, $15 an hour, $11 an hour have homes. That's not survivable in Wisconsin. The housing price, back when I was living in Wisconsin, I came here in 2009 to St. Louis. And even back then, we were priced out of the housing market, even in our own neighborhood. But that was my perspective. So a lot of times when we get into these conversations about the data or who's the data or what the data is saying, I don't believe that. Well, that's not what my experience. Really don't care what your experience is. And you have to believe, at some point, especially when it comes to information about us, Not everybody's lying on us about our issues, about our status, about our image. They're not lying when they say over 70% of our women are single mothers. 80% of our kids are born out of wedlock. I don't care if you come from a family where every woman in your family is married. I don't care. That doesn't represent us as a whole. So my question, I guess, to you guys, where we got like 3 minutes left, why do you think there's such a backlash on when we start getting into the numbers when it comes to us?
No one really ever really wants to see themselves in a negative light. That's just it. No one, we don't want to look at ourselves and see what's really, really there. So we've got to do better about shining a light on what's going on in our homes, our neighborhoods, our communities. We got to do better and fix it.
You guys are awful quiet now.
They
well, with me, I kind of feel, well, what I do, I see a lot with people not reporting all information. You don't always get all of the information. Say like when they go out and do the census, you have a lot of people that don't even do the census. They don't even take the time to report stuff. So some information could not be all the way accurate. And this statistics class that I'm taking now, I've come to realize that a lot of information could not be accurate based on the types of sampling they're doing, whatever types of surveys they're doing, the type of research they're doing to gather this information too. Because you got to look at how they're gathering the information, because they could be just gathering it from a particular group. You know, they could be singling out these different groups and gathering the information from that group and basing that as they general. So you have to look at the information, how the information is being collected.
Miss Angela, you couldn't have said it no better. You nailed it to the cross for me. That's exactly how I feel it.
But I'm not saying, and I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying and saying that some of the numbers are high, because that could be well true, but
I don't mean it's accurate.
A lot of times I think they don't give us enough credit for the things, because regardless of what they report, I'm seeing a lot of different things taking place in the brown community that you wouldn't have seen taking place some years ago.
Absolutely.
So
but one of the things I want to one of the things that we got to do is one of the things that I would like to push. When you're looking at data, statistics, it's all sampling, you know, and it's a scientific approach. But if you just not even look at the numbers, if you look at us from an objective standpoint, look at the volume of homes that are being ran exclusively by women. You don't have to have a number to see that the vast majority of our women are by themselves. You don't need numbers to see or quantify that the average Black woman has 3 baby daddies. You don't need a number to see that. That only, to me, only validates the number. But my more overarching perspective on this is fighting over how accurate the numbers are doesn't help us in addressing the issue. Who cares if the real number of single Black women heading households, it's not 73%, but it's 67%? Is it really that much of a big deal? It's still too many. Who cares? Who cares if the real number of out of wedlock birth for our kids now isn't 80%, but 75%? It's when we looked at the Patrick Moynihan report, we were at a 30% rate back in 1965, and they were calling it critical. So we got the numbers, we got the data. Yeah, we can look at the data with a little bit of skepticism, but this with our data from multiple sources, the numbers are extreme. It's not like, everybody can't be making this thing up about us, about what's going on with us. If you take a step back, even with the work on the ground, looking at the school system, how our boys are treated versus how our girls are treated within the system, within the educational system. They released a study about a year ago because, a year ago, people were leaving the workplace, and they call it the Great She Session, because women were leaving because women were leaving the workforce. Women were not leaving the workforce. White women were leaving the workforce. My second job, I work in healthcare at a hospital. It was rare 3 years ago for me to see a Black nurse. That's all I see now.
Yeah. Yeah.
They released a study that predicts in the next 10 years, the largest working class people in this country will not be white men, will not be white women. It will be single Black women will be the labor market. In the next 10 years, will be the majority of the labor market. You are actually number 2 right now.
Wow.
This COVID, these white boys when they came home and realized how much money they were saving on childcare and all this, that, and the third, by the wife being at home raising their children, and they figured out how to make it off of his income and cut expenses and be happy. The men pulled them women out of them jobs. They didn't care what them women were making. You come home, we can deal with it. That's why we got this whole rate of this whole thing called the C-session. It wasn't because Black women were leaving the job, was leaving the market. White women were leaving the work market. The reason why there's so many open jobs is because white women are no longer in the job market.
I used to wonder why they was able to lay out on the beach meanwhile we go to work.
Yeah.
You drive down Lakeshore, they spread across.
And let me tell you something. And from a cultural standpoint, from an economic cultural standpoint, we spend way too much money on nonsense. I was talking to a Black nurse. I was talking to a Black nurse the other night. She has 6 children. 4 of her 6 children were boys, and she told me she averaged about every 3 months $250 per male child on a pair of shoes. That's $1,000 in shoes. That is
Wait a minute. I need to chime in.
That's insane.
Because when you've got boys and they are growing, every 3 months you are buying shoes, and I will say that.
We're saying $250 a pair.
And you
a pair? No.
I'm not talking about.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about $250 for all 3.
No, per child.
Per child. And then she's working in that hospital, a full-time job in the hospital for any clinical staff, which would be respiratory physicians, nurses, radiology, CNAs. It's 36 hours a week, 3 12-hour shifts. This woman is working 6 nights a week, 12 hours a day, 6 nights a week.
And I'm blown away because my baby boy wears a 15.
Because my son gotta have J's. My son has to have $100 pair of jeans. That is, we are, as a culture, we are reckless with our money. this is why the dominant culture spends so much time, especially with feminism, and we're going to get into it when we get into the Queen Mother show. When we get into Queen Mother, we're going to get into why feminism attached onto Black women. It was all economic.
Part of the plan. Part of the plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ladies,
absolutely.
Part of what is taking
we've
place.
Been on we've been on an hour and 20 minutes.